viewers. My name is City Mayor, the director of the owner of Lunar Farm, located in New York in Akwa Ibom State. Okay, tonight, this is the 25th day of December 2025. Um, the discussion we have today is something that many have been arguing, many farmers have been arguing about, both the professional ones and the non-professional ones. And what I'm about to say today, or what I'm about to explain today, is not the uh, final answer actually, but I'm trying to make some points so that you farmers can be able to choose within yourself the one that is best known for you. Okay, our discussion today is about dry feeding and the wet feeding. Okay, there are many things that I have already written down, which I will be pointing out on them one after the other and be elaborating them so that farmers out there will also understand those points. Then, when you weigh two of the advantage and the disadvantage of each of every one of them, you'll be able to know the one you choose to follow. Have it in mind, you are the owner of your farm. So, you are the one to choose the one you needed. And if there is any challenge, you face it by yourself. Okay, now let us start with dry feeding. Okay, dry feeding is all about feeding a pig without mixing water to it. That is what we call about dry feeding. Whenever you see that somebody is feeding his pigs, dry feeding, it's all about you mix your feed formula finish. There is no water added to it. You just feed your pigs with it. That is dry feeding. Now, I am going to look at the advantage of dry feeding and the disadvantage of dry feeding. Then, if there is any question, you can ask the question. If there is no question, you can still learn from the points. Okay. From what I have here, one of the advantage of dry feeding it is convenient and easy to manage. That is the number one point. Dry feeding of pig is convenient and easy to manage. How is it convenient and how is it easy to manage? You can believe with me that when you are feeding your pig with dry feeding, one of your staff attendants can handle as many pen as possible. How? The feed mixture has already been fixed. It's just for your farm attendant to take the measurement. Once he gets to each of the pen, he start pouring the food as fast as possible. If you are feeding your pig, the adult one, 2 kg, 2.5, 3 kg, depending on the way you choose, he feed them. Once he mold the food, he dropped and go his way. So it is very, very easy to manage and very, very convenient. Convenient aspect of it is that it is very, very easy without having any stress. Now, number two we have here is that it's less labor intensive. On what I explained on the number one, you can get that from number two. Less labor intensive in the sense that you don't need many hands to feed. No, you don't need that. One person can take care of all of them. Then we talked about the disadvantage. Okay, we look at the disadvantage of dry feeding. One of the disadvantage of dry feeding is that digestive issues in pig. Potential digestive issues in pig. How is this possible? When you are feeding your pig dry feeding, believe me, that is why they tell you that when you are mixing your feed formula that you should add salt to it. What is the advantage of the salt? The advantage of the salt is that once you mix salt with your feed, it will make the pig to go and drink water, to be more thirsty to go and drink water. Once you mix it properly with the quantity needed, it makes the pig to go and look for water. So that is why you normally have digestive issues if there is no water for the pig to go and drink. That is the disadvantage. For instance, you will have a farm. You didn't know that even if you are using nipple drinker, as we are using here in Winard Farm, you didn't know that your tank, your drum, where the water source is coming from, that there is no water. You have already mixed the food. And as you mix the food, you might carelessly, you might leave the farm without knowing that there is no water for them to drink. Or you try as much as possible to pump your generator, you notice that the water is not coming out, or the generator disappoints you, or the light is not coming up. So this is the disadvantage of it. Number two disadvantage of it is that, have it in mind, dry feeding lead to slow growth in pig. Dry feeding of your pig lead to slow growth. Have it in mind, when we are talking about slow growth, we are talking about the digestion on those pigs. When they are feeding dry, it takes time for their food to digest. It takes time. It only digests so fast when they are combining it with water. But have it in mind, when they eat the food dry, it takes longer time to digest than when they eat the food with wet. That's the wet feeding. Then the number three disadvantage we have here is that you waste more food in dry feeding. When you are feeding the pig dry feeding, you waste more food. How? You pour the food for them. You see, most of the time when the pig eats food and the food is still remaining, you see them defecating inside the food. You see them urinating inside the food. And sometimes, if you are using a deep litter system as we are using in Winard Farm, you see them stepping in their food chain without their leg that has to do with dust. By so doing, they are condemning those food. So you waste more of the food. Now, talking about the other way around, which is the wet feeding. We have talked about the dry feeding. Now we are looking at the wet feeding. What is wet feeding? It is simply adding the water with the food content that you are giving your pig. As simple as that. Adding water to the food mixing water to the food that you are giving your pigs. That is wet feeding. Now, one of the advantage of the wet feeding is that we have here is that it improves digestion and nutrient absorption. It improves their digestive system once they eat the food. For instance, look at the food that I give this woman here. This is our pregnant duro. If you see, the food is this wet feeding. We have already mixed enough water with the food, and now not only that, they still have water to drink. You see, they still have water to drink. So in as much that they are eating this food, which will digest so fast in their system, they can as well add it up with water. And you know what water is? Pigs can even manage without eating food, but they can't manage without drinking water. Water is very, very vital for them. In every area of their life, water is very crucial. So now, number two advantage of it is that it reduces feed waste. It reduces feed waste. How? Now, this woman here, we give this woman here 3 kg. 3 kg per day. We divide it into 3 sections. Now, in that 3 kg per day what we are giving her, when we give her, for instance, in the evening, 1 kg in the evening, you see that because of it is wet feeding, she finished the food so fast. She finished the food so fast. And it is easy for her, so palatable for this pig to enjoy that meal. She enjoyed the meal so fast and she can eat it so quick. So that is number 2 point. The number 3 point is that it increases feed intake and growth rate. This is one crucial point that you have to look into. You know what water helps the pigs for? Which is the growth rate that we are talking about. Now have it in mind, all this advantage is a less advantage in terms of dry feeding. It increases feed intake. they eat more. I have explained that. And also growth rate. It helps them in growth rate. Then number 4 advantage of it is that better hydration. They can never be dehydrated. They can't. Why? They have water to drink, and they can also, sometimes you can run out of water, but because of the food that you have already mixed, which is the wet feeding, that water that they eat can also, combined with the food, can also help them and sustain them till the time that you will put water for them to be drinking. So you see, it is very, very more of advantage than the dry feeding. Now, the disadvantage of this is that more labor intake. It requires more hand. When you are mixing that feed with water, it's not easy. So it takes time before you mix it with water. So that means as you are mixing it, you still need more hand for somebody to be rushing and be giving the food, because of what? It is even heavy. When you mix it with the water already, you will see that 1 kg is no more looking like 1 kg. It will be looking like 2 kg or thereabout. So it requires more hand for it. Then another disadvantage of it is that it requires proper management. So the disadvantage of wet feeding is not actually that it's affecting your farm. No. But it's just something that you can manage. You need to manage it. Now look at this. He said it requires proper management to avoid spoilage. Proper management to avoid spoilage. The proper management we are talking about is that if you look at this food now, we divide this 3 kg into 3 segments, morning, afternoon, and night. Then this is for the night. 1 kg for the night. Now, this 1 kg for the night, the proper management aspect of it is that you have to make sure that you are giving this pig what he can be able to consume, so that this food will not stay till the next day. Because once this food stay till the next day, definitely it will spoil. So definitely you feed them lesser. Now, for instance, even if you know that, okay, they can't be able to finish 1 kg, you can now segment it and give them maybe 0. Thereabout. You can give them 0.66 or 0.70, depending on how your pig can consume. Okay. Now, the last but not the least is that needs adequate water supply. That's the disadvantage. So you see, the disadvantage is not something that you cannot handle. Need adequate water supply. How? That means if at all that you are pumping water, for instance, you are using deep litter as we are using, have it in mind, so far as you are using nipple drinker and you are also mixing water in their food, the water that you do consume in a day will be higher. That is what it means there. So in summary, what I am trying to summarize here is that if you are feeding your pig, for the small ones, which is the winners and the early growers, try as much as possible to be using wet feeding. Manage yourself. Know how to do wet feeding and apply that formula. It will help your animal to grow. All these people you see that the animals are growing so robust, go and ask them the secret. They will tell you. Wet feeding helps. It helps. Why I said so is that those small pigs, those winners and growers, they need that water so much. They need water so much. They don't need to be dehydrated. They need to be hydrated. Always. They need it. They need it. Now, you can now manage dry feeding on the adult ones. You can manage dry feeding on the adult ones. You know that dry feeding, you won't spend much in terms of the food. Somebody will tell me that he doesn't feed them wet feeding. That if he feed them wet feeding, they consume a lot of food. So he prefers giving them dry feeding so that that food will be there. Who are you deceiving? If you have to feed your pigs 3 kg in a day, and your feed by right supposed to eat that 3 kg, but because of the dry feeding, the pig went ahead and eat 1 kg. Didn't you see that you yourself, you are the one losing? And at the end of the day, you might even waste that food. And you will lose because your pig is not growing. Okay, look at this pig. Some call it G-Wagon. Huh? This woman here you are looking at is just 11 months. This is the first pregnancy. This pig is too big. As in, forget about the video you are looking at there. When you visit my farm and see this woman, you see how she is even struggling to stand up. Now she will even sit down there and be eating. She's too big. When I mean too big, I am the one that stopped feeding her adequately. Look at the size. Look at the size. Oh yeah, look at it. Look at, you know how my height is 6.2 feet. 6.2 feet. Now you check the pig. You know how the pig is with this height. Very, very massive at this young age. I am the one that is feeding her less so that she won't be so much big. Even it stresses for the male to climb her. So that is what I'm trying to tell you. Until I come next time your way, my name is the City Mayor, the director, the owner of Winner Pig Farm, located in New York. Please try and do well and subscribe to my channel. Follow my Facebook page so that you'll be getting more updates. Thank you very much and God bless you.